It was a warm Saturday afternoon and I was standing in my backyard, flipping burgers on my old-school charcoal grill, letting the sweet smell of hickory smoke mix with the sunshine. I just cracked open a bottle of sweet tea. The ribs were hitting that perfect stage of crisp and juicy, and I thought for a fleeting second, this might be the perfect day. Then came the voice. You're under citizen's arrest for unauthorized grilling. That sentence, ridiculous as it sounded, marked the beginning of a saga I'll be telling for the rest of my life. That voice, nasal and unmistakable, belonged to none other than Meredith Calloway, the self-appointed queen of the Brookhaven Pines HOA. Right behind her were three goons in matching teal polos and wraparound sunglasses, looking like they just stepped off the set of a low-budget mall cop drama. I wasn't shocked Meredith showed up. She had a sixth sense for joy and a relentless need to squash it wherever it blossomed. If someone in the neighborhood laughed too loudly or set out lawn chairs that didn't match HOA guidelines, Meredith was there, clipboard in hand, ready to pounce. But what did surprise me, what really set the absurdity level to 11, was when she pointed at me, barked a command to her tactical team, and watched as they stepped forward to cuff me. On my own lawn. The day had started off like any other small-town sheriff's Saturday. 5 days of paperwork, patrols, and breaking up disputes over barking dogs and lawn gnomes had worn me out. I'd finally gotten a morning to myself. I marinated the ribs, got the coals going, and even set out chairs and sweet tea for the neighbors. A couple kids rode past on their bikes, waving and calling out, "Hi, Sheriff Lane." "Afternoon, boys," I called back. It was all good until a crackling PA system shrieked from across the street, followed by Meredith's voice echoing like a bad doomsday broadcast. "Attention residents of Brookhaven Pines. The HOA's block safety event is now in effect. All unauthorized activities must cease immediately." I glanced over the fence and saw what could only be described as a suburban militarized spectacle. Meredith, decked out in tactical leggings, a fitted vest, and a belt with a whistle, clipboard, and what looked like a bottle of pepper spray labeled Meredith Mist, strutted around the cul-de-sac like she was leading a counterterrorism unit. Behind her stood three guys, Chad, Brent, and the third one I never bothered to remember, wearing shirts labeled Brookhaven Tactical Team. Their golf carts had been tricked out with sirens and duct-taped LED lights to look like discount SWAT vehicles. I should have known something dumb was coming. I just didn't realize how dumb. Apparently, my grill had violated air quality thresholds per the HOA's clean living protocol. I laughed, out loud, which only made things worse. Meredith stormed up to the edge of my fence. "You've been warned before," she snapped. "Your smoke is affecting the designated safe breathing zone of our block event." I reminded her, calmly, that my house wasn't part of Brookhaven Pines. Built in 1996, it predated the HOA by nearly a decade. The HOA had no authority over me. I even had the deed to prove it. Didn't matter. Meredith ignored every word. She yanked a walkie-talkie off her belt and barked into it like she was storming a compound. "Unit Alpha, suspect resisting compliance at Lot 17. Request backup. Prepare for detainment." I blinked, confused. Looked behind me. Surely she wasn't serious? 10 minutes later, the golf cart patrol rolled in, sirens wailing like a goose being strangled. Chad jumped out holding plastic zip ties. "Sir," he called, voice shaking with unearned authority, "step away from the meat and place your hands where we can see them." I didn't know whether to laugh or call the actual police. Except I was the actual police. "Name's Sheriff Ethan Lane," I said, holding up my hands and my spatula. "You boys sure you want to continue this?" Brent hesitated. The third guy whispered, "This ain't worth it, man." But Meredith snapped her fingers like a mob boss and shouted, "He's impersonating law enforcement to avoid HOA accountability. Arrest him." That's when things escalated. Before I could reach for my badge, Chad stepped forward and zip-tied my wrists tight. Then he marched me toward the driveway like he'd just caught a fugitive. I didn't resist. Didn't yell. Didn't even raise my voice. Because, like clockwork, my department-issued cruiser pulled around the corner. Deputy Janice Harper and Deputy Raymond Ellis got out, both of them stopping mid-stride as they saw their boss being marched across the lawn in zip ties. Raymond hit the siren. Chad froze. Meredith stepped forward like she was about to issue a press conference. "Officers, you're just in time," she said, beaming. "We're making a citizen's arrest of this individual. who is a danger to community air purity and HOA order. Raymond looked at me, then at Chad. Ma'am, I said calmly, you might want to stop talking. She didn't. She launched into a tirade about neighborhood safety, legal precedents she'd found on Reddit, and some nonsense about HOA law superseding county law. The crowd gathered. Phones came out. My ribs were burning on the grill. One neighbor whispered, "This real?" Another muttered, "Hidden camera show?" Raymond quietly stepped forward, removed the zip ties from my wrists, and handed them back to Chad. "You just detained the sheriff," he said. Flatly, coldly. Chad looked like he was about to cry. But Meredith doubled down. "He's a threat to neighborhood unity. I don't care what badge he has." And then came her fatal mistake. She rifled through her clipboard and handed me a citation that read, Violation 4C, Weaponized Barbecue Emissions. I held it up for the crowd. Weaponized, I repeated. Janice coughed to hide a laugh. Raymond didn't bother. I turned to the crowd. "My name is Sheriff Ethan Lane. I am the elected law enforcement official for this county. You cannot detain someone on their own property under a fake HOA code. That's called unlawful detainment, which is a crime." The murmurs turned into gasps. Meredith's eyes went wide. "You're bluffing," she shrieked. "This is intimidation." "No," I said. "This is law. You can't impersonate police. You can't run a pretend security force out of your garage. You can't detain people for grilling burgers." Raymond pulled out a notepad. "Deputy Harper, start taking statements. We're opening a case." "You can't do that," Meredith screamed. "I'm not a criminal." Then came her final attempt at defense. "Brad, do something," she barked. Brad blinked. "I think I left Maya a flashlight. I think I'm going home." The illusion was collapsing. Fast. That night, I attended the emergency HOA meeting Meredith called to review my conduct. The room smelled of bad coffee and beige authority. Meredith took center stage and began listing charges against me, including unauthorized grilling, airspace violations, and interference with HOA protocols. When she called on me to respond, I stood. "This is my property deed. My home was built before the HOA existed. You have no jurisdiction. That's not my opinion. That's legal fact." One board member raised an eyebrow. Another asked, "Meredith, is it true about the budget?" That's when a neighbor stood up. "I work in accounting," she said. "The HOA budget diverted $40,000 last year into community defense initiatives. That includes golf carts, fake uniforms, radios, and catered meals." Gasps filled the room. Meredith turned red. "It's for heart health," she snapped. That night, the board opened a full review. Meredith was suspended pending investigation. But that wasn't the end. Turns out a tech-savvy neighbor, Jamie, discovered something chilling. He found a drone flying patterns over several homes, including mine. The drone had audio surveillance. It recorded one of my phone calls with a DA contact. That wasn't HOA behavior. That was a felony. Jamie saved everything. I took it to the county. We launched a formal investigation. Another neighbor, Julie, the HOA's treasurer, came forward with financial records. They showed line items labeled neighborhood beautification that were actually for surveillance gear, badge printers, and tactical vests. We got a warrant. We raided the HOA office and Meredith's house. Found a whole war room, maps, surveillance footage, a corkboard with pins and resident photos labeled compliant or watch. And then we found Skyhawk 1. The drone. Footage included aerial views of private yards, backyard arguments, and even a child's birthday party with Meredith narrating violations. She was finished. At the town hall meeting, I apologized. I said I should have acted sooner. Then I laid out every crime, surveillance, impersonation, illegal detainment. Residents lined up to tell their stories. Wind chime fines. Mailbox violations. Unauthorized balloons. The dam broke. Meredith tried to attend. Deputies blocked her. "This is a political hit job," she screamed to the media. The trial came fast. Meredith represented herself. She wore oversized sunglasses and carried a binder labeled Freedom Versus Tyranny, HOA Edition. She cited TikTok videos and Facebook comments as precedent. The judge was patient until he wasn't. "This is a courtroom, not your personal TED Talk," he finally snapped. She was found guilty on 6 charges, including impersonating law enforcement and wiretapping. Her sentence: 800 hours of community service and a lifetime ban from HOA leadership. Her first task? Cleaning patrol vehicles. At the county sheriff's office. Every Monday and Wednesday she walked past me in a neon vest. Never said a word. The HOA appointed a new president. Nina Whitmoria, retired city clerk with no patience for drama. She refunded fines, shut down the tactical team, and opened the books. Brookhaven Pines became a neighborhood again. People started smiling, grilling, waving. No more sirens. No more clipboard threats. At the community celebration, someone put up a cardboard cutout of Meredith by the dunk tank. The sign read, "Violation, excessive fun." That night I saw her, Meredith, in an orange vest, picking up trash silently. She passed me without a word, and I knew she wasn't dangerous anymore, just bitter. But the neighborhood had changed. The people had learned the law, learned their rights, and learned what happens when you let someone with a megaphone pretend to be a queen. All it took was one HOA Karen trying to arrest the sheriff to remind them who really runs a neighborhood: the people.